Thanks, Nick. Yeah, normally when we do our Zoom calls, it kind of just goes straight in, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
Oh, hello, everyone, and thanks, Nick. I'm really pleased to be here, finally involved in presenting at EVA. It's been quite a week as well. I've been trying to be in 2 places at the same time. The last 2 days, Bournemouth University also organised Trust and Telepresence, which has been fantastic. So I've been diving in between the two. So I'm working with James and Marius from Play Labs and Nick from Ravensbourne. And James I've known over 7 years from Hackstock and Liverpool psychedelic festivals, which we performed at. And they invited me to bring my experience as a neurofeedback artist and researcher into their current project working with volumetric video capture. And right now, just as a soft beginning, I am within the Connect 4 image and the software GenieMo. And during my talk, I will show you a few different layers and effects and things that I've introduced. So things have kind of changed a bit for everyone in the last year, and particularly I can't touch people with neurofeedback equipment. So I became a kind of online streamed self. I adopted a persona called VJ Token Girl, and I make videos improvised live for DJs in the electronic music scene now. And in the last 15 months, I've done over 100. So I've actually been more busy than ever. Obviously not always paid, but it's building up to another element in my career as an electronic artist. I combine kind of elements of retrofuturism, hauntology, and remixing, so the culture of sampling. That means I take scenes from really amazing videos and kind of, edit them in software such as VDMX. It could be Resolume, it could be Fugio. I'm not really, advocating any particular one, but for live streams. I got a bit obsessed about this presence as well. I both feel nervousness and excitement when I do these events, just like a real in the club IRL kind of thing. And I obviously had to kind of tame down my ego there, because what's that about? I don't want to feel nervous and counting the audience from my home. But I thought about it. I use this sub pack, which many of you are familiar with, and I thought that would be amazing if the sub pack could give me haptic feedback rather than me whilst trying to look at 2 screens, video editing live in the moment, to get a sense of audience presence, not like ping, ping, ping for every person that arrives, but some kind of frequency, some kind of sense of, being in a crowd rather than being alone at home, whilst me wearing the sub pack I have on my back whilst I'm working in a particularly visual environment. So that's just something I kind of put out to you in case any of you have already done that or got some coding that obviously takes text and chat room into vibrations. So there's always this sense of risk. It's crashed a few times, and what's at stake for me? Well, the live stream might go down. So I mentioned just now that my work engages, or I'm very influenced by hauntology. And it kind of gives me a melancholia. It kind of came from Mark Fisher for me originally. Of course, I traced this back to Derrida in the 90s from Spectres of Marx. And, what we're looking at, it's a situation of temporal and ontological disjunction in which presence is replaced by a deferred non-origin. And that was kind of my starting point for working with GenieMo. So back in November, Marius and James lent me a PC and this Connect 4 camera and gave me the software and regularly updated it and asked me to be their remote artist in residence, which is both fantastic, but also, obviously being remote is what it is. The last show I'd seen in real life was Nam June Paik for the Tate Modern, and I'm very influenced by not just Good Morning Mr. Orwell, but the whole global disco that he promotes and his use of technology. So if anyone doesn't quite remember that one from 1984, he had live, John Cage performing with a feather, playing the needles of a dried cactus. I mean, how avant-garde is this? At the same time mixing in Ness Cunningham dancing with a hologram of himself. 1984. Allen Ginsberg sang about meditation and disarmament. And the beautiful cello player was playing. So I've got some visuals here at the moment. We have Superman, also from the 80s, but this is when General Zod is being punished to space forever for his bad role. I've got brainwaves I'll be bringing into the mix, and why I find that we might have an improved sense of connection with the presenter when they reveal something delicate and tangible about themselves. But let me tell you a little bit about the actual technical background. Sure, you've got the paper, but I'll just sort of whiz through it here. So currently I'm sat in front of a Mac M1 networked with an Ethernet cable to the PC, the NUC portable PC, a really neat small machine. So the software GenieMo permits a seamless mixing, media mixing playground, combining a computer's virtual camera with inputs like from Spout, WebRTC, and WebSocket network protocols. And I've been using different versions of this, and Marius has been adding different elements to it. This has also added agency to my work as an artist. He's added lighting effects to the actor, so within the Unity kind of environment, savable, movable camera positions, so you can kind of, you can set up angles and you can explore and replay them, and transitions. But I've always wanted to bring in my brainwave signal. It's very important to my work. Bringing in a level of feedback, homeostatic consciousness into the mix is really vital. So right now, all of this is enabled. I'm actually connected, hardwired to my fiber broadband router using a Cat8 Ethernet cable. I'm using a lot of free software. So I've got the free tool NewTek NDI, the Network Device Interface, video stream, and I'm sending layers from the main output of the OBS software, the Open Broadcasting System, on my Mac, which is also free. I'm using VDMX, which is not free, but it's a fantastic visual mixing, live kind of package. And all of that's being sent seamlessly into a spout, being received on the PC, again from the NDI. And I've imported that into a context. So right now, what we're seeing is a combination of myself real time and my VDMX combined with short-lived brainwaves. So I love this quote from Paik: the intersection of experimental art with still nearly experimental technology produces all the hitches, glitches, delays, and improvisations you'd expect. God knows I've had a lot of those, and that's what you do as a live artist. So it would be amazing to get involved in anything like a global disco, but here we go. I'm working on a kind of global consciousness disco. So initially, back in November, obviously that was pre-lockdown, I conceived of a series of networked installations, maybe isolated locations like Brighton, London, myself in Hastings St Leonard's, but these restrictions kind of got in the way. I had to work alone. That's not so much a problem because we have a lot of virtual meetings and we all meet inside our own GenieMo in the same meetings, which is great. We have at least 3 to 4 sets of the equipment. So for me, actually, the biggest challenge was learning how to use a gaming mouse. I've got to just say that because I'm a massive Apple user and I wasn't really used to these kind of controls. Anyway, we got everything working, and we did actually have some initial performances. So back in November, Hackstock, I think it might be Hackstock 7, I'm sure James will correct me when he comes in for the demo. And this is the first time Hackstock's taken place purely online, and Hackstock was an opportunity for me to show real-time brainwave context within a symposium where we had obviously lots of different speakers and so on, and I just came in at the end to show proof of concept really, which was so exciting, also quite disturbing because I wasn't expecting how it was going to look. And then in May this year, MozFest was obviously Mozilla May 21. I implemented the latest functions, which is GenieMo has a one-click real-time 4D social cast video communication and mixed digital media performance utility, which meant we could go straight into YouTube live stream, which we hadn't done before actually. And from there, I was able to, I had a rehearsal with a team in India for MozFest in a day, and the music room was announced at 5 p.m. and lots of speakers had moved between different rooms. And I played cello, actually I played upright bass live within a context of my own brainwaves. And if I remember to paste this link, I should do, I'll just paste it now. I've just pasted a link there. There's some short videos you can see of the real-time experimentalness of this, performing to people without any sense of audience or presence, which is really bizarre. So obviously this is a massive nod from me, an homage to Charlotte Moorman, who was Peck's collaborator with the cello for many, many years. And I actually played the tune, This Is Your Life. Okay, so the theme tune, composed by Laurie Anderson. I mean, who doesn't remember that from the 70s? It had a sense of ominous and presence, and anyway, I play it over and over again until I really get into it, whilst my brainwaves reflect the initial excitement or stress into a relaxed and hopefully more creative flow. Then after that, I created Into the Rose Garden. So I've always been thinking about this wonderful part, the Burnt and Autumn section of the 4 quartets, and how thinking about time really bothers me. You know, you can be excited and then you can get anxious, and then ultimately the idea of eternity can be quite traumatic. Well, it is for me, brought up Catholic, and I think T.S. Eliot wrote this at a time where the Rose Garden for him might be analogous to his conversion to Christianity, possibly. It might be like a Garden of Eden, but for me it's a multiverse and it's cyberspace. So Into the Rose Garden is entering into, you know, the beginning. This is very much a work in progress. What will I discover? So here I'm combining a psychophysical stream of self-observation within my voxelated GenieMo virtuality, and I'm incorporating the brainwave monitor and the camera. So you can see my work before. I always use frontal lobe. Decision making, relaxation and meditation are very well detected from here. Plus it's very easy and simple to apply because there's no hair. So by putting this on, this is an EVA. This is all in the paper. What I'm using, the software has its own bespoke software and hardware. I'm able to add something now to my presence in this meeting by revealing to you my brainwaves. Now, without too much scientific discussion, a lot of spikes is often a lot of high electrical activity. And if I can calm down, or if I was to relax, or if my concentration completely just leaves this room, you will see a very calm, less kind of spiky kind of reading without going into any technicalities. But I have worked as a neurofeedback practitioner, so any questions I'll be really happy to answer if you would like to field them to me. So this can capture my mood. This can show, obviously, if I'm giving you my full attention right now, for instance, I can also add in a context of the other kind of brainwave stuff, so the other videos from BDMX. So right now we're seeing obviously a slightly calmer reading. Just move on. So my work has a cyberpunk aesthetic. I've been doing this since the 90s, but of course, my heroes are Alvin and Lucia, whose work from the 60s with music, the solo performer particularly, is profoundly important to me. You know, the apparent simplicity of that piece performed on a large stage with just eyes closing and eyes opening to change the reverberations. The simplicity belies a massive background complex system. And so many other artists, including Pierre-Henri, Richard Tuttlebom, David Rosenberg, using EEG. And someone I know, Mariko Mori, uses the same system as me. And I was lucky enough to experience that wave UFO in the Venice Biennale. I think it was 2005, where she has this giant holographic kind of spaceship, and inside 3 people are linked up using this same hardware and affecting a Maya 3D kind of visual experience within there. Also, aesthetically, what I've really been obsessed with is test cards, because they have this element of waiting, you know, when something's not present. So of course that really connects me again to my hauntological kind of leanings. And this particular test card I'm using, which has roses, is a French card from ORTF channel from the 60s. And I really resonate with this and T.S. Eliot's quotes from Burnt and Autumn. Other echoes inhabit the garden. Shall we follow? And I feel I am following. I've not defined this. This is not like this is a set piece. I really appreciate comments on how to increase the connectivity of the audience in any artwork that's telematic. So it has to have risk, it has to have trust maybe, or does it? You know, what your thoughts are on that. And of course, I'm influenced by some science fiction writers, so let's have some William Gibson. When the past is always with you, it may as well be present. And if it is present, it will be future as well. That's from Neuromancer. So I'll just kind of wrap up my kind of ideas, because I have a conversation with Nick, and then we're going to bring in Marius and James and show some great features within the software. So obviously you're experiencing some occlusion, my edges, and there's artifacts. I've got quite a bright LED light across the room from me. At night, obviously the contrast becomes stronger. We can all play around with the light in our own space, but I got a cyber dysmorphobia at first. My face was very different shapes. My makeup even, I always wear a lot of eye makeup, but I found myself kind of like a bit like a 1920s film actor, really layering it on to kind of, come out in the voxels. And this camera can rotate 360, so you can unfortunately see yourself from every angle, and you have to learn to live with that. And of course, that's a great feature in the software as well, and I use that in some of the music performances. So really, in the future, I'd like to be able to bring in effects like hologauze as a way of using like a kind of point cloud filter to project things over the performer or the person that's in front of the camera. I know that the team want their software to be device agnostic, so hopefully I'll be able to teach the students on the MA course using really cheap cameras next year, not the Connect 4, like the much older model maybe, and that will obviously democratize the accessibility to this wonderful software and other technologies. And I'd like to quote Charles Davis here, of course a massive proponent, fantastic VR artist from many years ago. And increasingly the means of production and the means of delivery are being centralized and monetized. The profound potential that I believed in is at risk of being obliterated. And that was in 2017. And of course, it couldn't be even more pertinent now with Facebook and Oculus and all this kind of stuff. So it's very important to us as artists and developers and creators to not be owned or controlled in that way. And my paper has big shouts out to Paul Sermon, Ghislaine Boddington, whose work has influenced me, massively. And I was lucky enough to be tutored by Roy Ascott in the 90s, so I can't give a list, but it's all there in the paper. So I need to develop my artwork more and appreciate any feedback and any connections that your wealth of experience can offer me. And Nick, if you'd like to join me again now, I'd really appreciate that. So thank you for your time.
Right, thank you so much, Luciana.